was coming to the end of the evening and we were looking for a game that fit 5 players well, that we could play relatively quickly and we all had some familiarity with. And sitting there right at the top of the stack was Citadels. Citadels was one of the first games I bought as a board gamer. It was the game that got me to connect with one of my good friends, Paul. We were actually on camp together. I was the teacher, he was a volunteer parent that'd come on camp with his son, and as an off-the-cuff sort of thing, I said, hey, let's just play this game I bought called Citadels. We immediately bonded after this. We pulled out this game, we put it on the table, and we go nuts. And I forgot just how much I loved role selection. It's a great innovation of Bruno Fiorduti. I even did a video on it for Core Mechanic, and you can go check that out in the description. I love that role selection, that choosing a power that interacts with other people in the game. The reason I think it's unique is it has these 8 roles that you choose from, and you have some known information, some unknown information, and everybody is selecting from the same pool, which I think is brilliant, because none of the other games on my list really work in that same fashion. There's really only two parts to Citadels: selecting roles, building cities. But that role selection is key. It brings everything together. The building cities part would just be boring on its own. The role selection is where all the interesting part happens. The fact that you might get a building built is not the biggest deal. You've got to negotiate who wants what at what time, and which roles out of the available roles that you have are going to either keep you safe or help you achieve victory. I also saw Paul and others using the roles in a far more beneficial way than what I was using it. It just showed me how much depth this game can have and how fun and interactive this game can be, which led me to think, well, what other games are really like Citadels on that level, with that sort of role selection that interacts that well? And it's really hard to find similar games exactly like Citadels. I'm not saying there aren't games with role selection, but to find one that works just like that, works in the same way, I think is really hard. And in fact, if you know of one, please put it in the comment section below. I'd love to hear some more and learn some more, because I'd really like to explore this mechanic further. I thought I would just quickly offer a few games which I think are among my favourites in terms of role selection, and offer you some thoughts as to why, and hopefully give you a reason to go and either play those games again or check them out for the first time. Number 2 for me on my list would have to be Mission Red Planet, and oddly enough, it's another Bruno Fiorduti game, who, teaming up with one of my favourite designers and creating one of my favourite duos in board gaming with Bruno Cathala. In this game, the role selection is slightly different in that you have your own pile of character cards that you can choose from each turn. Count down from 10, and as you get to each number, that person flips their card over and does their action. But that is about being able to get your people onto a rocket ship to go and land on Mars. So you have this role selection that occurs, which gives you actions within the game and allows you to interact with the game, but then it also gives you the ability to do things on the board, and ultimately the game is an area control game. And so you're trying to do this area control game through the roles you choose, but because everyone's chosen the role, it almost becomes this programming element where as you go down the list, people are turning their cards over and interacting with the board and changing the state of play, and so the card you've chosen may no longer be the best card, or it may not be the most relevant, or you could all choose the same number, and because of the way the roles interact and because of the turn order, you could have a really horrible turn or you could have the best turn ever. This game is a lot of fun. Yes, it does have that element of luck to it with things going off all over the place, but the high level of interaction from the game, the fun with the role selection, the different abilities you have, and the fact that there's interacting with the board through area control and through placement of special cards, it's a blast. I really have a lot of fun with this game, and I really want it to hit the table a lot more than it does. Mission Red Planet. Number 3 on my list would have to be Broom Service. I think it was a Kinderspiel des Jahres winner. It's just amazing in terms of gameplay and the way the roles work. It's almost like this trick-taking element to the game in your role selection. Choose out of a number of roles. Everyone has the same cards. You have 2 witches on the board, and you're moving them around, and you're trying to deliver potions, and it's essentially a pick up and deliver game. But the rolls are the most interesting part of this game, and the rolls are how you interact with the board. You've got to move your 2 witches around using the characters in your hand that you select, and you select out of a number of cards, but you only select the ones you need for that turn. Whoever is the start player chooses 1 card from their hand and plays that character. When they do, they have 2 options. They can choose to either be the brave or to be the cowardly. If they choose cowardly, they get a secondary action. They can take that straight away. If they're the brave, they do not do anything at this stage. They wait to see if anyone else has that card. If someone else has that card, they must place it down. You must play that character that turn. If they have the same card, they place it down and they choose to be brave or cowardly. They choose brave. The first person no longer gets a turn. That's their turn done. If no one else plays that card, they get the brave action, which is usually the best action on the card. But the idea is that you go around the circle, and if you've chosen brave, you're betting that you are the only person with that card. I just love that mix between that riskiness. You can just play it safe if you want through the whole game and just choose the secondary action, but it means you're moving slower, you're not doing as much work, it's harder. But if you choose the brave, if you take that risk, there's just this, I love it. Such a good game. 4 on my list has to be Libertalia. This swashbuckling adventure is a lot of fun for me. You are trying to steal treasure and get it into your private collection, which is very typical of piracy. To do this, you're going to need to use your roll selection. The characters you choose all start out the same. As the course of the game progresses, the cards you use, the timing you use them will all start to result in randomized hands by the end of the game. One of the things with the roll selections, not only do they activate in order of their rank, but they activate in order of their daytime, raid time, or nighttime abilities. So you're trying to measure when is the best time to use your card, which power to use, and when the best time to use that power is. You're also trying to navigate which booty to collect, because if you raid the wrong treasure chest, you might just end up with negative points going into your collection. That's a bad thing. My recommendation on number 4 is Libertalia. My number 5 is a little interesting because I'm choosing Race for the Galaxy, which is more ability activation. But when you really break down role selection, it's really just activating an ability. So I don't see this as all that different. Each ability is in a phase order. You select which ability you want to use. Whichever phase orders were selected, whichever abilities were selected, you get to use that ability. But if you're the one that selected that ability on that turn for that particular phase order, you get an additional ability. In Race to the Galaxy, it's exactly that. It's a race. You are trying to be the first to establish a number of worlds or build a series of developments, whether technical or social developments, or your civilization. You're trying to expand your civilization to be the largest, and by the time that the first person reaches the correct number of established worlds or built developments, then you want to have the most points at the end of the game. This game plays pretty quickly. It plays really well. It's got a lot of iconography, which is a little hard to get used to sometimes. It requires a lot of going back to the rule book, but it is a lot of fun. And the best part is, I think, is that it also has a dice version, which is really good and sits quite nicely on my shelf. Thank you very much. So that's all I've got for you today. If you like what we're doing, please hit that like button. If you're new to this community, please hit that subscribe button. And until next time, my name's Dave Adams, and you've been watching Nerds of Wisdom.